Welcome to our podcast of Pari Sanaa. A couple of words recorded here at Cosmos Studio. We aim to explore different dimensions. We aim to delve deeper, to bring new stories, new perspectives. Every time we have different guests and different story. In this program, we try to foster understanding and build bridges among various communities living in southwest Finland and in Turku. So today, we have our interesting guest from Brazil who drags his story behind him, Gabriel. How are you, Gabriel?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for inviting me here to
Thank
share
you.
a little bit of my story in Turku.
Yes, I think it's always about sharing stories and trying to give better understanding, because when we tell who we are, then we succeed in conveying our messages. So I would like you to introduce yourself probably in the beginning.
Sure. My name is Gabriel. I was born in Brazil. I've been living in Finland for around 4 years, even though I had some breaks between. So in total, possibly 3 years. Arrived in 2021 to do internship for 4 months. And then I stayed for more 4 months. And then I stayed for more 6 months. And then I stayed in total for around 3 years. So that's basically the summary of my stay here in Turku. What I do currently, I do scientific communication. So I try to do marketing for researchers, mostly in Finland. But I do have a background in political science and international relations and urban planning.
Wonderful. Prior to arriving, what kind of mental images did you hold about Finland?
That's definitely a very good question. I think as a Brazilian, we don't know much about Finland. Mostly in a Brazilian perspective, at least back in 2019 when I left Brazil. I think Brazilians hold this image of Europe as some sort of like one country, but not much was imagined from Finland. I think mostly that it's cold, and also the welfare state. I think it's very discussed when it comes to tuition fees and really good education rankings and happiest country in the world, possibly also.
Happiest country in the world.
Yeah, it was discussed at the time a little bit. I think Finland has become
You
this.
were in Brazil when you heard when Finland hit that record for the happiest country in the world.
I did actually a university assignment related to this, and I think that's also how I got to know more about Finland, being like in the first place. So yeah.
Do you remember your first city in Finland?
So the first city that arrived here was Helsinki. I did a green trip from the Czech Republic to Estonia, and then from Estonia I took the ferry to Helsinki, and my first city that I arrived was Turku, so that I lived. And in fact, that I had, most of my experiences and my living experiences here in Finland, even though I also lived 5 months in Oulu.
Yeah, and you managed to find a job here, like in Turku.
I came here for an internship. In fact, yes. Yeah. I remember I was this bachelor student back in the Czech Republic, and I applied for a few internships, but the Migration Institute of Finland was basically the first to answer. Ellie, my former boss, she answered in the next hours, basically saying that she could have a talk with the board of the Migration Institute to see if I could, in fact, have an internship, and it was agreed for me to come here for 4 months initially.
And just you commenced your journey from Migration Institute. I see you, because I know you personally, so
I arrived, in fact, to do the internship here, and I didn't know much about Finland, as a question before. Of course, I Googled a little bit, but I could not imagine that Finland was such a wonderful place with, of course, many challenges that has been facing.
Have you ever noticed something which is like very prominent, like you couldn't spot before?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is definitely the winter. So on Google there is this winter wonderland. But then we arrived to Turku, and then like this winter is very winter wonderland.
Yeah.
But usually you have a very slushy winter, right? So definitely this one first. But also, I think what I like very much about Finland that you cannot find on Google is how people are so trustworthy here, and how they have this very Finnish mindset that can be a very good thing, and also can be at the same time a very challenging thing, I believe. So
yeah, what are the challenges like on personal level if you just like peer through personal lens?
yeah,
What are the challenges that you personally encountered while trying to integrate or to live?
that's definitely a very good question, because I did research on this. I did research on immigrants integrating Finland. Yes, and on my in a personal level, I believe that I was very lucky to find my like very good friends since the very beginning. Very Finnish, Swedish-speaking Finns and Finnish people in general that I met, and of course I worked in a place that integration was definitely a topic, and that I felt also very integrated at work. But I believe that the biggest challenge for foreigners is actually to integrate and socialize and find their groups, because Finns might seem reserved in the beginning, I would say, but at the same time, when you get to know them a bit more, they are definitely like the best friends that you can ever have. So, because I feel like trust is
important.
It's a big principle in Finland.
Is the language, for example, is it deemed as obstacle in the process of integration?
I would say yes and no.
Yes.
My experience in Turku was that language was not a big barrier. Also because maybe Turku is a bit more international when it comes to a city and its attractiveness. I felt that when I lived in Oulu, language was a bigger barrier than here. So in Oulu, I had encounters in which people would say, yeah, in here we speak Finnish. And it's not even like, they would say like, we don't speak either Swedish or English, but here you speak Finnish. So I think Oulu was a bit less of an international setting. However, of course, I worked between the university and the city administration. So most of my contact was in English, and I do think also Oulu Lycet are very, interactive, and they're also very straightforward in a good way, And I think also the city has becoming more international. But of course, it's also a transition of how we perceive language and how,
Yeah, do you think like it's also when it's a problem when you live in a very international place where people, I don't say don't help you to use your humble Finnish language or evolving Finnish language. Do you think like being in a place like Oulu, it's also a place where people can, especially immigrants or those people who are born outside Finland, can develop their Finnish language? Because I've heard from other guests, like they try to speak Finnish, but they find it difficult because people shift to English.
I would say yes. I lived in the Czech Republic for around 3 years also, and way less people could speak English. So I definitely learned Czech way faster, of course, because you kind of have to. When you don't have this pressure to learn the language because you can navigate a country.
You can navigate
in English or in other language. Then I think you can become slightly lazier to really learn the language, and you don't have this pressure behind of like, oh, I need to do my bureaucracy in Czech language. So of course you're gonna learn like Czech faster than here in Finland. That you can do most of the bureaucracy in English, which is really nice because you can understand what you're reading and signing and everything. But there is definitely a pressure, component in there.
Yeah. So you lived 3 years
in the Czech Republic.
Czech Republic.
Yeah.
And how good do you speak Czech language?
I could communicate and have conversations.
Better than Finnish.
Way better than Finnish.
Way better than Finnish.
Yeah, and nowadays when I try to speak Czech, I think, or Finnish. There is a mixture of Czech and Finnish, which is a bit weird. So I need to sometimes really think like, okay, that's Czech language.
I think when the two languages are being learned, they could compete, you know?
Yeah,
It happens
yeah,
sometimes with me when I try to learn a new language. And
yeah,
I feel myself are mixing.
yeah, and it's a kind of weird mix, but yeah, it's just mixed. So
Yeah, it's like,
yeah,
you worked in a research area and you worked with a research institution like the Migration Institute of Finland. So, of course, you delved into themes like integration and diversity. Could you talk about that? Like, how do you define integration? How do you see integration?
okay, that's a very good question also because in research there's a question of what is integration. There are articles about what is real integration and how people perceive integration and how the government also perceives integration. So I would say that integration also depends on the perspective that you're looking at. What I understand is that integration is also giving accessibility to people to access different services. In a country that can offer so many services. If you take the example of the students, when they come to Finland, I believe there is a big effort of universities and also the government and the municipalities to explain what sort of services are there for internationals. And I believe that the reasoning behind is this rush, like the reasoning behind is to actually give the possibility for the students and for the internationals to integrate on a deeper level and learn the language and access, language learning and social interaction and different, like a community building, as they would say. So I think that's one of the points in which I believe Finland has been trying to focus when it comes to integration. How I perceive integration, that's definitely also a big question because I met people here that I felt that, like, on an outsider perspective, they are very integrated. But when you would ask those people, they would say that they didn't feel integrated. And then there is this question of sense of belonging, right? This question of how do I perceive myself living in a country? And I also think this is very fluid because some days you perceive yourself more integrated, possibly, and some days you perceive yourself way more outsider of a culture.
Depends on what?
I believe depends definitely on your emotions to the place and how connected you are and the interactions you had the day. And I think it can be a more subjective part of understanding sense of belonging and integration and how you feel integrated to a place. And this is one of the parts of place making, right? If you think about how people perceive their surroundings and how they connect their surroundings and how you sometimes look to a birch, and in Brazil, I don't think we have much birch, the trees.
What do you have instead?
We have, that's a good question to translate now, but we have like this ipe trees, which is like quite colorful, like just also cherry trees and stuff.
Coconuts?
Sorry?
Coconuts?
Not much in my region, actually, but we do have some palm trees. Yeah, indeed.
Palm trees?
Yeah.
You have?
So definitely the question of how sometimes you look at a birch tree and that's not something related to how you grew up or how you perceive your surroundings when you're growing up, but how you also have to accept and embrace the birch tree. I think it's a...
Do you remember your first neighborhood in Finland?
I do, yes.
Wow.
Port Arthur, Porza.
Ah, Porza.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite good neighborhood.
Yeah, it was
It's
a very nice
good reputation of high expensive rents.
I think at the time it was slightly cheaper, but nowadays I'm quite sure it's more expensive. Yeah.
What kind of memories, impressions, what kind of you hold from back then from that neighborhood?
That's definitely a very good question. So when I think right now about the first neighborhood that I lived here, Porza, what comes to my mind are definitely the wooden houses and the smell of like the smell of smoke from the chimneys. So we just passed there, and every time I pass there, it kind of reminds me also the first time that I moved in there. But I also think it's a very family-oriented place, very chill, very quiet. I remember going to work and also passing by the Aurajoki, by the river, very beautiful, very, very beautiful
What
routes
about
to go to
like
work.
societal aspect? Or do you have still friends from there?
Yeah.
Neighbors that you know?
Yeah, I didn't live there much. I lived there for 3 or 4 months, so I didn't make that many connections. Of course, I remember a few neighbors that were quite talkative, in fact, and also my landlord, who would sometimes show up, and then we would have, in fact, a beer and just talk about random stuff. So, but he was not part of the neighborhood, but I guess he was. So yeah, it was a very, very comfortable and cozy experience, I would say.
Which neighborhood do you feel like you belong to more, the Finnish neighborhood or the Brazilian neighborhood? Which one like you feel more like which neighborhood addresses your core more, addresses you as your authentic self more?
Yeah, well, when it comes to the physical part of the neighborhoods, what I like about Finland is that you don't have that many fences, or we have a lot of like walls in between our houses, which is kind of a very Brazilian setting, but also for aspects of safety, you would like to have like a wall in your house. And I think, and this was discussed also during my urban planning master degree, how this in fact makes people more distant from each other, because you have walls. Of course, you can always ring the bell and ask. But I remember that the setting, at least in the place that I lived, and in fact it was slightly upper class. Nowadays it's a bit more expensive, the rent, because of course the prices and everything.
Yeah, going up.
Yeah. But what I like about Finnish neighborhoods is that you kind of feel more connected somehow to the place. You don't have this wall separating the street and the houses, but at least often, right? I would say. I'm generalizing here, but in general. Yeah.
Do you feel like sauna and forest is also part of Finnish neighborhoods?
Definitely. Definitely the sauna is the biggest community building item or feature in Finnish society. Yeah, I do like the idea of meeting my friends in sauna, and it's such a nice moment to share anything that you have in mind, and it can be very straightforward. But it's also true that I believe that Finnish people, they take care way more of nature around their surroundings, their houses, their neighborhoods, because they also perceive this as a very important physical component for well-being and for just feeling good, and like taking care of the birches.
Does your belonging to a place, to a certain place, obliterate your previous or prior belonging to your original place?
No. Not so sure if you understand the question, but I would say that...
So does it, for some people, like when they try to integrate and they might find their new country, new home, they feel like, okay, now this is home. We feel like we belong here. But does this belonging obliterate their prior belonging?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so, because
can we
I
belong
believe
to multiple places?
Yeah, of course. I do believe that we can belong
can
to...
belonging like transcend this or surpass the...
And this might go back a little bit to what we talked before, related to how this fluidity of sense of belonging, because I feel that sometimes you might feel belonging to your home country, and sometimes more in Finland. And yeah, I truly believe that you can just belong to multiple places, and that's one of the things that also we should try maybe to find more places that we belong, because that's how you also connect to the world. The world is not a country, right? The world are multiple places with multiple people with multiple memories that we should embrace as as a bigger part. Yeah, as a bigger part of the whole thing. Yeah,
as a bigger part of the whole thing. Beautiful. Well said. And how frequently do you visit your country of origin, or do you visit Brazil? If I put it in that.
Yeah, it's been 7 years that I haven't been there.
It's been 7 years.
So my parents don't live in Brazil anymore. They live in the US. So I often visit my parents in the US. So I visit my family in the US, of course, and it's
good.
also very interesting because
It's very interesting.
then I have family in another country that I kind of don't belong to because I don't have any. Even though I do believe that the United States is really great in exporting nostalgia, because you watch movies from the 50s and then it feels that you were there somehow or that you missed this time. So I do believe that the United States have the soft power to create memories that we never had. But every time I go there, there's also these layers of having my family there speaking Brazilian Portuguese and making Brazilian food mostly, and listening to Brazilian songs possibly, drinking Mexican beer. That's why we buy there, because we don't find any Brazilian beer.
And in the morning.
Yeah, not in the
Brazilian
morning.
coffee.
Yeah, Brazilian coffee indeed, yeah. But at the same time, there is a layer of, United States, which is definitely different from what I grew up. So, but of course, watching, movies growing up from the US.
But once you are inside, like you are with your family under the same ceiling, do you feel like you have this family atmosphere? Do you feel like you are in another country, or you just feel it's home, even though we are all the family somewhere else in another country, a place that we haven't spent or we haven't been to before? Do you feel like a family, like your parents or your nuclear family, they can also bring the sense of home?
Yes. In the beginning, I think it was quite weird, possibly for me, to really adapt my family also, thinking that they lived in this very US townhouse, very American standards and stuff. Nowadays, I feel definitely more home also, in a way that every time that I go to their house, I feel like it is my family. It is my parents, it is my sister, and it is like my parents' friends. So then I feel connected.
Yeah,
I feel connected with
the first Brazilian dish. Your mother, your mom prepares. You feel
exactly.
very much connected.
I usually wait, like every time they arrive, there is a Brazilian dish waiting for me. It's true. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's very, because for me, like I can't picture my parents or my family home to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because always I connect them with my city. So in your case, like now you are bringing another dimension.
And this goes back a little bit to belonging to different places, right?
Yeah.
I feel that every time I am in the US, it's such a different culture than Finland and then Brazil. But then my parents live there, and you create memories there. So you also kind of become part of that.
Do you plan to invite them to Finland to see what kind of emotions their visit?
We've been planning a trip here. It's true. Not during the winter, because my parents, they hate the winter. They're very Brazilians. But still trying to bring them during the summer, so I think they're gonna have a nicer time here at least. Yeah,
I think summer here is wonderful. It's like just awesome with very moderate temperature, and people from hot countries, or warm countries, they just appreciate that. So much. Yeah,
it's a beautiful place indeed.
How do you spend your time in Finland?
Good question. Currently, I'm mostly working during the day, and then I do have the sauna group, or the sauna friends, that we meet every 4 or 5 times a week. So it's like my time here is actually a lot in the sauna.
Oh, 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah,
Wow.
I got really into the sauna thing. It's true. It's mostly with this when the winter nowadays. So definitely a lot of sauna. Sometimes we go to Viljärvelä or Uittamo, sometimes some friend's house, and it's a bit random. Wow. But yeah, we have this group, so we usually share when we're going to sauna. And because I live in Numi now, there is this very nice place behind Numi, which is Koroinen. So I try to have most of my walks there and think a little bit what I'm going to do next when it comes to My current startup, my current freelancing company, Psychom Lab, and that's where I also spend a lot of time. And it's also very nice when it comes to really thinking about the memories that I had there, because I think when you live in Turku, every time that you pass by Koroinen, you kind of remember like something that happened, or like a friend that you were with, or so some memories can always arise.
Oh, wow. And I think I saw you like very much connected to the student village in Turku.
Yeah.
So could you talk about that? Like how important for newcomers also to be part of community?
Yeah, of course. I lived in the student village for possibly in total 2 years. I lived in different places, so I had different, shared saunas and common kitchens and things like this. So of course, I got in contact with a lot of internationals. But I also don't think that I met many Finnish people there. Mostly also because, when I lived in Aitopaikka, which is this kind of more modern building, I think I never met many of my neighbors, and most also of the board games nights, or any sort of social event. Finnish people not really show up like an international, so I do believe the internationals are more active. But if I could give a tip for the internationals that come here, for the foreigners that come to Turku, definitely also try not to be just in the international bubble. Try also to get to know the locals, the Finnish people, and Finlandssvenska, and try to really get to know their language and really immerse more in the culture, because I think that's how you appreciate, and that's actually the part of sense of belonging.
Of course.
Getting to know a different culture and appreciating that.
Yeah. According to your view, your personal experience again, what are the optimal channels to know Finnish culture and to be part of Finnish society and to know the locals?
Yeah. There is, I would say that most of the Finns would give you the tip of finding a hobby, because that's how you find friends easier. I don't know if I agree with this. I think that you should have friends with different hobbies, because then you can learn different things, Like if you like to play guitar, I would love to be closer to you, because then we can just you can just teach me how to play guitar and stuff like this. Or the sauna part also. Like, of course, before coming to Finland, sauna was not a hobby of mine, but then people invited me, and then I appreciated that very much. So I do believe that you should also try to have different hobbies in different communities and try different events. So definitely, if you find, and there is nowadays a lot of events also for internationals and community building related to the university, related from the City of Turku events, to really get to know more of the city and to integrate more. And I think that's definitely the tip. Just get out of your house and enjoy a little bit the sun if it's sunny. Sometimes not sunny that much, but get to events. Yeah.
Walk on the frigid outer river,
Yeah.
frozen river.
Yeah, and people are gonna be very nice. I would say my experience in Turku, people are usually very nice, very welcoming. Slightly reserved, maybe, but always.
I see you have friends like you. Always, I see you with friends.
Yeah, I do. Again, I was very lucky to meet the same people that I met in 2021 when I arrived here, and we've been friends since. And even when I lived abroad, they came to visit me, and then when I came here back to here, could visit them, and that was very like I believe also part of the sense of belonging is also to have acquaintances and friends in the place, because that's how you create memories, good memories, with people, with human interaction, with a good time.
Like what techniques do you use to create friendships in Finland?
Friendships in Finland, yeah, just don't try to be anyone else. Be yourself. Okay, if people perceive that you're just trying to be someone else, people are gonna get a bit distant from you. Possibly don't be that reserved when it comes to emotions. You can share things, and that's fine. I think I grew up in a culture in Brazil that we don't share that much emotions or that many feelings. But in Finnish society, I would say it's more accepted when it comes to really being more vulnerable to people and to deepen your friendship. And in fact, people that you have, like your friends that you have been seeing for a longer time, if you share more of your be more vulnerable, they're gonna appreciate because they're gonna feel that you're more real as a person. So just be yourself, be real, be honest, don't lie because that's gonna sound really bad for everyone. And yeah, I think that's how at least that's the tip of
Your
with my
secret.
friends. Yeah,
Yeah, the recipe.
I
of
hope that my
making
friends appreciate this me a little bit.
I'm listening to you.
Yeah, so thanks guys.
Here we are, like you got the recipe
Yeah.
of making friends in Finland.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you like now we are surrounded with this or by this like bad news from everywhere at the current political situation? How does the current political situation affect you as a person who's targeted immigrants? I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think about that?
I feel this is possibly a very good topic because the word migration and migrant has become so polarized that just the word can make many feelings aware inside of people. So either they're going to be either pro or con. And that's also one of the things that he's actually a professor, if I'm not wrong, Van de Haas, he mentions in his book, is a bestseller actually, How Migration Works. And he says you cannot be pro or con migration. It's the same to be pro or con the weather. It's just a natural phenomena that it's just there. So I believe that the debate of migration should be deepened in a way of really talking and discussing migration in a framework that we discuss and understand than just being like pro or con. So I think that's one of the things that also this researcher advocates, and I believe in that. I think we are not discussing. I think when societies are too polarized, there is no more discussion. There is just fake news and misinformation and a lot of feelings, and that's one of the things that I believe destroys a bit democratic debate on how we should perceive migration and how this can be beneficial to a country, to a society.
What are the things that can be done to better the situation, to put things on the right course? I mean, as immigrants, what we can do, like as people who were born outside Finland, and we are the targeted group of certain politicians. So what kind of messages we want to convey, what kind of things we want to do?
Yeah, I think first of all, and that's one of the things that I believe as a principle, we should definitely talk to everyone that does not have the same opinion as us and try to have a discussion. Sometimes it's going to be slightly more difficult, sometimes less difficult. But still, we live in a democracy, so debates should be, in fact, placed for discussion, for understanding of different topics, right? So just like don't be against talking to someone that doesn't share the same opinion you, but maybe just try to have a conversation and like a discussion how you perceive what you believe as a principle and how migration, in fact, can be very beneficial. You can always bring charts and data, which is also very important because you cannot really argue against, data and statistics. But the second point that this is not even from my not thoughts really by me, but when I defended my master thesis last year, which was related to how the municipalities in Finland can in fact increase well-being and urban vitality through the internationals in a country. One of the professors that was in the defense, he asked me a question that was very interesting that I never thought possibly. But he asked, how can also internationals and migrants be part of a community and be part of be part of a community in which the neighbors are going to look at migration of, oh, actually, I can get so many benefits from this in a way of cultural exchange and learning a different language and working together towards the same task or organizing something in the neighborhood. So the question was how we can increase the participation of locals and migrants into in a neighborhood to impact how also internationals feel integrated and how the locals would feel. Oh, there is actually like I can learn so much from internationals. So I think this is one of the questions that also we should pose when it comes to making events, in the city of Turku, how to integrate locals and internationals, because it's part of a bigger society. It is society.
Also, the
Locals,
role of
internationals.
media.
In which way?
I mean, in influencing the public opinion.
Yeah, of course. I do believe that mostly also social media has definitely a very big impact when it comes to perceiving what you already perceive. So the algorithm is just gonna bias your perspective on migration or internationals or different topics. And I think that's very dangerous for democracy, right? Because you should receive, in fact, the opposite information of like, oh, there is also like a different view on that. And I think that
Yeah, finally, do you think Finland is a place for immigrants to settle down and to build their future?
Yes, of course, I'm saying this as a migrant perspective, so I might be a bit biased, but I feel that Finnish people in general, and of course, I'm talking more of my Finnish friends and people that I got to know during the 4 years here, they really appreciate not just internationals in Finland, because the first question that they might ask you is, what are you doing here? And why are you in Turku? So I think they really appreciate when you're settling and learning the language and doing making a life in Finland. But also I feel that Finns they do like also to go abroad and perceive the world in a different way. I have this friend yesterday we were in the sauna, and then he said, well, I really want to go abroad again because this really widened my perspectives on how I perceive my life in Finland, how I perceive that also, in his own words, how privileged I am to live in this country and to go abroad and see that the world's not like this, and what am I doing for this world to be a bit better. So I think that's one of the key statements that I'm just trying to reflect from yesterday.
Do you feel safe enough to continue here?
I do feel very safe. I do feel that my friends definitely make a difference here. If I wouldn't have them, of course, it would be a different place. But having those people around me is very important for me to also feel safe and to feel connected to Finland. And yes, I plan to be here for a long time.
It's always being part of a community provides you with a feeling with warmth and security.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, it's very important. Well, that was very interesting conversation.
Yeah,
thank you very much for being
here. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. And thank you very much for watching. Until next time, this is Ahmed Zaidan of Cosmo Studio. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.